What up? So NFL training camp is obviously underway. In today's video, I really wanted to talk about why I think NFL training camp is the coolest thing ever. I don't know if you guys have ever been to NFL training camp before, but I wanted to give you guys my opinion on why I love it so much. And I also want to give you guys tips on how to get autographs as well. So this video is going to be a lot of rambling and a lot of storytelling, so right now on the screen is going to be the time to skip to if you want to get to my tips on how to win NFL training camp as a fan. So if you don't want to listen to my stories, just skip ahead, but if you do, I like you a lot. I can do an entire video on how to win NFL training camp as a fan, but you guys are going to have to let me know if that's something you're interested in after watching this video, because I could really talk about it, but I'm not sure. I might be able to just discuss it all in this video, so let me know. So with that, let's start talking about why NFL training camp is the best. The NFL and football are actually the first sport that I ever watched. I had no clue they even played pro sports, and when I found out they actually did, I thought that was really cool. And then I saw how much money was involved, and then I was like, man, that is just something else. So the first game I actually ever watched was back in 2008 when Super Bowl 42 was played between the Giants and the undefeated New England Patriots. And I don't live in Massachusetts, but I was actually cheering for the Patriots that game. So they were actually losing at some points in that game, and I thought, this is actually the underdog in the game, because when I turned it on, they were down. That was the team I cheered for. And I had no clue. I was oblivious to the entire world because they cheered for the Giants because they wanted to see the undefeated Patriots lose. And I myself was cheering for the Patriots because I thought they were the team that had the worst record. Now, I've mentioned in previous videos that I'm from Ohio, so I obviously should have liked the Bengals or the Browns. But the Patriots were just the different team, and I wanted to be different than everyone else. So I decided to just start liking them since they were the first team I really cheered for. Now, ever since that point, I always wanted to go to Boston to watch the Patriots play in a game. And I begged my mom every single year to take me on a family trip there, but she just never budged. But that all changed during the summer of 2013. We had actually planned a family trip to go to Foxborough to see the Patriots play a preseason game versus the Buccaneers. And we were also going to go to training camp, which was something I didn't really know about. And when my mom told me what exactly it was, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. If you don't know what NFL training camp is, every single team has one, and it lasts about the end of July through halfway through August. And basically what it is that each NFL team holds practices that's open to the public, and it's free for fans to watch, and then after the practice, usually every team does autograph signing. Now, some NFL teams do hold their practices in kind of weird locations. I know the Patriots hold their practices at their practice facility at Gillette Stadium, which is at Patriot Place, which is a really cool area. So Foxborough is a really small town outside of Boston, and the cool thing about it is that it's like an outdoor mall if you've ever been to one of those. And they have a giant stadium there at the outdoor mall where you can go eat and then shop and then go to a Patriots game. So it's a really cool area, and it's really kept well. Probably the nicest NFL team area that I've seen. But for the teams that don't actually practice at their actual location, the Dallas Cowboys practice at Oxnard, California, and I don't know exactly why they do that, but they do. And then the Houston Texans this year are practicing at the Greenbrier, which they have practiced in Houston before. And I don't really know why the Greenbrier hosts practices, but I'll get to that later. Now, those are the only two that don't really practice anywhere near their location, so all of the other 30 NFL teams, you can probably see them practice near where you live, if you live near an NFL team. But back to the story. Patriots training camp is really cool. So let's say the practices start at 2 o'clock. I remember that we would get there around 7 to 8 in the morning, and the gates would open about an hour before the practices start, so that's kind of why you want to get there early, is because you want to get a good seat. Now, that is the downside to Patriots training camp compared to the other ones I've been to, is that you have to sit during the entire practice. You can't stand, you have to sit in a seat, and that's why you want to get there early. Now, the tactic for Patriots training camp, which is different than others, is getting there early. You want to be in the front of that line, because the second they open up that gate, it's a flood rush to get to every single seat that's open, and it's a mad scramble. Now, you can't sit in the first row because those are saved for disabled people, which is a really cool thing the Patriots actually do. Now, this is a photo of the bleachers, but you can't stand at all during the practices. But the coolest thing happens near the end of the practice. I don't remember if there's a clock or a sound, but everyone stands up at once, and you are allowed to stand at the end of practice, and here's a photo of fans doing that. Now, there might be amped up security now, but when I went there wasn't really anything besides workers telling fans what they can't do. But you could bring anything into the practice and get it signed. Now, thankfully, my sister and I knew we needed to get there early because the first day we got Rob Gronkowski's autograph, and the craziest story happened because we got Bill Belichick's autograph on a football. And that was crazy because fans around us were saying how Bill doesn't really sign that often. And how lucky I got, because he signed my football and the kid's bag next to me, and then he left. Now, I was decked out in gear, and I was prepared to try to get an autograph, and it definitely worked. And that is why NFL training camp is the coolest thing ever, because I dreamed of meeting Tom Brady, and even though I didn't, meeting Bill Belichick was probably even better now that I think about it. I got so lucky that even happened, and I really still can't even believe it 5 years later. Now, we went back another day that week for training camp, which was the very last one of the season in 2013, but we didn't get any autographs, but it was still a lot of fun. Now, after going back a second time, it really proved how lucky we got, and that's what training camp is kind of based on when you get autographs. It's based on luck. Because no lie, we were the first people in the line. Like, we were in the very front of the gate, ready to go in, and they opened the gate right in front of me, obviously, and it still didn't really get us any autographs. Like, we stood at that gate for 3 to 4 hours and we didn't get a single thing. But showing up early still really helps. Now, after that trip and when we got home, the Cincinnati Bengals were actually hosting practices in my area for a one-day event, which was training camp, but in our area. So I was able to go to another training camp right after I'd gone to my first one. So that was actually pretty cool. So I took my tips from the Patriots training camp and brought them over to the Bengals training camp, and it really worked out. And that training camp was a much better fan experience because of that. Unlike the Patriots training camp, they let you stand the entire time at the Bengals training camp. And they didn't make you go into the stands, and right now you see what the stadium looked like, and we just stood there the entire time at this fence. So me and my friends stood right there the entire practice and waited for the autographs after. But before the practices started, we met current Browns head coach Hugh Jackson. We met current Minnesota Vikings coach Mike Zimmer, and after the practice, Andy Dalton went straight from the 50-yard line and walked right over to me because I had a TCU shirt on. But the autographs were much easier to get there, and that's why each NFL training camp is so different, and it's hard to give an accurate description of what each NFL training camp is like. Now, I do have 2 more training camp stories to tell you guys about. The Bengals came back another year for training camp in our area for one day, and the cool thing was that we met the Bengals owner, Mike Brown. But I had been really wanting to get back to another Patriots training camp since I first went, and I still haven't. But I really hope to get back there sometime soon. Now, the Saints practiced in West Virginia back in 2014, and that was only 4 hours away. And then I found out that they were holding joint practices with the Patriots for 2 days, so I'm like, alright, we have to go to this. Now, the practices in West Virginia were very interesting because they were held at this resort called the Greenbrier in a very small town in like the middle of nowhere. Now, there are a lot of downsides to these practices that I went to compared to the other ones. Like, you couldn't even park there. You had to take a 15-minute bus ride from the parking lot to the practice facility. So it was hard to estimate how many fans were actually there at the beginning. So, like, you couldn't drive by and see, all right, no one's here, we can go grab something to eat and then come back, because you just didn't know. And the security there was unreal compared to the other places. Like, they were scanning bags, you couldn't bring certain stuff in, and the whole parking situation really left me like, I could not believe how secure that place was. Now, the good thing about that area was that it was first come, first served for the seats. So, I mean, when you got there, you could really stand anywhere the whole practice. So it was kind of like the Bengals training camp. I mean, that was basically the only good thing about it. And then you got to stand up against this wall the entire time. So I guess you had something to lean on, unlike the Patriots, where they only had like a string once the signing autographs started. So I guess it was a little bit better. Now, this training camp, I did get some cool autographs at the time. I met Jonas Gray, who had a 4-touchdown game versus the Colts, and then was never seen again. I met Michael Humanauanui, who was a tight end for the Patriots for a while. I met Danny Amendola, who was a cool guy as well. And I met LeGarrette Blount and Matthew Slater, who have been big names for the Patriots for a while. But LeGarrette is now with the Detroit Lions. But every single NFL training camp I've gone to, I've never left empty-handed. And that is because I went prepared. So now it's time for you guys to get some tips on how to win NFL training camp as a fan. So I was around like age 14 to 16 when I went to all these training camps, which was like the perfect age to get autographs. Because like the players knew that you were probably buying your own stuff probably. And that you would cherish the autographs more than like a little kid, obviously. And you weren't too old enough where you're like too old to get autographs to begin with. And that's actually kind of a reason why I haven't gone to any training camps, is because I feel a little too old to get autographs. I don't know. I mean, that just might be me, but I mean, I don't really have anything against people that are older getting autographs, but my tips are pretty simple to get those. Tip number 1 is to get there early. Like, that is so simple. You are at such a huge advantage just by getting there early. Like, beating the crowd to get the good standing room seats or to get a good seat in general is something that you really can't live without if you go to training camp. Obviously, being in the front will really help you a lot, because having that face-to-face interaction with the player, like instead of being in the very back trying to reach over everybody with your merchandise trying to get an autograph, it's a lot easier getting autographs if you're right in front of the player. And make sure you give yourself enough time to get there to get autographs. So like if the practice starts at, let's say, 3 o'clock, like I would get there at 10, 11 in the morning. The early bird gets the worm, you feel me? And obviously, like I said, being in the front is the way to go to get the autographs. And even if they're kids in front of you, I mean, they're going to be a lot smaller, so you can still kind of reach over them. So tip number 2 is obviously to be prepared. Like, know players' numbers, know their names, bring Sharpies with you, have them in your pockets, bring stuff to get signed. Stuff like that is very important. And if you have a lot of team gear, wear it. That's why Bill Belichick walked right up to me. It was because I had on a stupid foam hat of the Patriots mascot. Everything on my body was Patriots. My socks, shoes, shirts, shorts, you name it, I had it on. So if you have it, wear it. You have to stand out. So tip number 3 is to be aggressive. And I'm not talking about pushing or shoving other fans, because actually the people around you are very important. The people around you, if you guys can form some sort of group to chant a player's name, or you all start yelling at a certain player, or even if a player comes over to you, they're usually going to sign everybody's stuff. So the people around you, I mean, don't be too aggressive with them, because, I mean, they're there just like you are. But what I'm talking about with being aggressive is that, you know what, say something to the players. Like, say, hey, man, come sign my stuff, please. Like, I drove 4 hours to get here. I spent 4 hours in line. Like, it's not going to take you that long just to sign something and make my day. Like, kind of guilt them into it. That's what I kind of mean. And never sit back. That is the last thing I would want you guys to do. Because if you sit back and you never say something, you never know what could have happened if you did. But be professional about it as well. Don't scream at anybody. Don't yell. Just kind of be smooth about it. And saying stuff before practice really helped as well when I was at the Bengals training camp. Like Mike Zimmer, we yelled at him. We yelled at Hugh Jackson. We didn't really yell. We just said, hey, Coach Jackson. Hey, Coach Zimmer. And then they both walked over and talked to us for 2 to 3 minutes. And it was a really cool interaction. We got a photo with them. And then at the very end, I was yelling at Andy Dalton that I was a huge TCU fan. And I was yelling at him to come over to sign my stuff. He walked straight up to me. So that's just a simple tip to give you guys. Just be professional about it. Don't yell at them. You know, be professional. And my last tip is to just have fun, you guys. Even if you don't get any autographs, it's still really cool to be there. I never got Tom Brady's autograph, but he was right in front of me. And he honestly got really as close as you could get without getting an autograph. But that was good enough for me. If you have any questions about training camp, please comment it down below. I don't know how every NFL team runs their camps, and I haven't gone in 4 years. But I feel like I can give you guys an accurate description of what to expect just by going 4 times in my life. And if you have gone to an NFL training camp, please comment that down below. Tell me about your experience. Tell me what autographs you got. Tell me everything, because I will read it all and I'll comment back and I'll be very interactive with this, because this is something that holds special to my heart, is because that Patriots training camp kind of changed my life. And I know that's kind of silly to say because these are just regular people too, but still, when I was younger, I was at that perfect age where if I got like Tom Brady or Bill Belichick's autograph, like I was never going to forget it. It was going to be the coolest thing ever. So that's why I really want to talk to you guys about that. And training camp is a lot of fun because it's free. Like, you don't have to pay anything to go. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys later for more content. Peace out.